Hello there folks, I'm Dan Brown from Sort of Interested, and today I'd like to share a few quick tips and general advice that I've picked up over the last decade or so of boat life. Let's get stuck in. So one of the few genuinely quality bits of advice I can give you is not mooring underneath trees. I do it all the time in my sort of half panic, half laziness to just get the boat moored up. And I personally like to think that it is the cause of a lot of the spiders on board, but that might just be me being hopeful that there's not going to be so many spiders further down in the clear air. But more significantly, if you have a rainy night, the drip, drip, drip off the branches, if you're so inclined like I am, could drive you absolutely round the bend. Equally, this is quite a low hanging tree, and maybe because the little acorns have started to come on it since I've been moored here, but the other night, when it was the night that marked my 10th anniversary since buying Narrowboat Tilly, not only was it raining, but it was a proper windy night. About 3 AM, I thought there was stuff blowing around on the stern, came out, couldn't see anything amiss, woke up the next morning to realise it was literally the tree itself tapping and rubbing along the boat roof. So it was a disturbed night, to say the least. Another beautiful, rainy, windy July summer's night. One of the best purchases that I've ever made in my life, never mind boat life, has to be getting hold of a really good torch. Now, as you can probably gather, out on the rural stretches of Canal, there's no street lights, or, well, I'd say in many cases you could have a good mile or so with no artificial light at all out in the real rural areas. You're currently seeing the canal lit up by the light on my phone. 3, 2, 1. That is the difference that a good torch makes. It's almost like daylight in the centre of this beam, I swear. And going back to the phone light, you can understand why it makes a significant improvement on these long winter nights. So I thought I had a good torch when I had this one, and I used to be like, wow, this is amazing, I can't believe how good this torch is. And then when I actually bought a really good torch, I mean, I'm almost scared to shine it directly at the camera, but the difference is astounding. And when you put a light like that out into a pure pitch black canal towpath, it's amazing. It is, no pun intended, the difference of night and day. Speaking of handy things that you might want on the boat, a battery pack such as this one is what I now consider almost an essential backup item, that if you did have any problems with the electrics on the boat itself, just having something like this you can fall back on, even if it's just to plug a light bulb into as an emergency makeshift travel light. Yeah, definitely handy if you can pick one up cheap. This is in no way, shape or form a sponsored video, and I bought this with my own money. I'll talk about this more in depth very soon because I'm very impressed. Okay, here's some quick fire tips. Regularly check your mooring ropes because you will be amazed how much they can slacken off, especially on a busy canal. Always, always, always take your chimney down before you start moving. And of course, after you've finished moving, be sure to put it back up to try and keep the rain out from rusting your chimney and washing rusty water down onto your fire. With this next point, I don't intend to be overly negative or paranoid or have potentially an element of fear creep into the video, but it is extremely important to always be sensible and think about security. And I want to mention this specifically because of the nature of the canal that I get to spend my time on is this beautiful rural surrounding, and very often it can feel like you're the last person on earth. And maybe it's easy to get a little complacent in thinking, well, there's not even going to be anybody out and about walking at this time of year in this section of the canal. And that's something that I've fallen afoul of previously when I was filming a video many, many years back in one of the most rural locations around here on the Llangollen Canal. And somebody actually picked up my camera that was filming on my tripod, and luckily I just happened to look out of the window in time to notice it was gone, and I found them walking off with it down the road. And similarly, I've come back to the boat when I've been away for a day or two, and the spiders have put a few webs around the back of the boat, and found the webs actually broken around the padlock on the door. And that's something that you've got to think, that doesn't seem like something that's naturally done that, and what could possibly be the reason that someone was trying the lock? So again, something to be aware of, something to think about, and of course there's many boaters out there who'll tell you about some of the more urban environments that security is very much the first thing that you're thinking of, and maybe moving along in the morning. So just to go a little bit behind the scenes with this video, originally it was about 15 minutes long, but I felt it had turned into far too much of a this is what you want on a boat, this is what you do not want on a boat type of list really, rather than a proper thought out video of ideas and advice. So I've cut this shorter than maybe I wanted it to be. However, there's an overall theme that people who've tuned into my channel for years will be aware of, and that is what I always say, that boat life can be so many different things to so many different people, and that's probably one of the most important themes I want you to walk away from this video thinking about, that I can give you advice and tell you and explain how boat life has been for myself over the years, but that does not in any way, shape or form necessarily translate directly to how boat life will be for you. As I've said previously, the ways that you can live on a boat, whether you're in a marina all the time or out on the canal travelling hundreds of miles, or whether you're living on a really small boat like I used to, or a fancy new massive boat with all mod cons, it can be almost unrecognisable a lifestyle from one person, say, on a fancy custom-built new boat who's permanently in a marina, as opposed to me when I lived out on tiny little narrowboat Tilly, travelling around on the canals and spending the winters out down the muddy towpaths. So that's probably the most important theme to take out of this, that you can look online and see how people are living, but there's a lot of stuff that no matter what we on YouTube or on the internet may tell you about how we've lived up to this point, when you get on your boat, you'll find your own way and your own sort of rhythm of life out on the canals. So on that rather upbeat, positive note, I'll bring this video to a close. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'd like to give a quick shout out to my channel members and PayPal supporters of recent times. So thank you very much, Chris G, Glenn F, Vic S, Darren C and Catherine S. It really does mean a huge amount to me, especially in the current climate we're in. And I'd also like to just plug my short boat life books available for the Kindle and as a paperback. You'll find the links in the description. Until the next time though, my friends, have an absolutely fantastic day. Keep it interesting, keep it boat worthy. I've already said have a fantastic day. So farewell. Bits of advice and a few tips that I've picked up past. Hang on. Right, are we live?
Yeah.
Hello there, folks. Out here on the canal, and in nothing other than the natural light in a lot of my